I should have divorced you years ago, I said, part frustration, part curiosity, just to see if she'd finally react. But Emily didn't even look up. She stood by the counter, scrolling through her phone, calm and distant, as if my word were nothing but static in the background. That same detached stillness had lived in her eyes for months, quiet, unbothered, mocking. "Yeah," she murmured. "Maybe you should have." That's when I knew something in us had already died. Once, this house was filled with warmth, with laughter spilling from late-night talks, the smell of coffee on lazy mornings, music drifting through the kitchen as we made dinner together. Now only silence lived here. It started small, the way she stopped kissing me goodbye before work, the way her messages turned brief, empty, practical, the way her laughter faded from the room long before she did. Then came the phone, always face down, always within reach. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. Everyone goes through rough patches. Stress happens. People grow distant sometimes. But then she began dressing up more, especially for those work drinks on Fridays. I noticed a perfume that wasn't hers, the faint trace of lipstick she wiped away before coming home. I didn't want to be that guy, the paranoid husband checking messages in the dark, but not knowing hurt worse. So one night, when she left her phone on the counter to shower, I gave in. The passcode was still the same, not changed, not yet. The screen lit up. A message thread. A name I didn't recognize. Matt Work. "Matt, you look stunning tonight." "Emily, stop. People will notice." "Matt, you worry too much. I can't get you out of my head." "Emily, you're trouble, Matt." "Matt, then meet me again Friday." My throat went dry. I scrolled further. Dozens of texts, light and teasing at first, then heavier, intimate. And then one message that hollowed me out completely. "Emily, you make me feel alive again." I locked her phone and placed it back exactly where it had been. Alive again. What did that make me, then? A ghost. A habit she'd outgrown. When she came out of the shower, hair wrapped in a towel, humming softly, I looked at her like she was a stranger in my home. She smiled faintly. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," I said. "Just tired." That's what I did. I buried it. I wanted to believe I was wrong, that there was context I didn't understand. But truth doesn't fade. It festers. 2 days later, she said she had another late meeting. I followed her. She didn't go to the office. She drove to a small hotel on the edge of town. I parked across the street and watched as she checked her reflection in the mirror before walking inside. 10 minutes later, a man arrived, dark jacket, familiar face. I recognized him from her company's annual party. Matt. He kissed her before they even reached the door. I gripped the steering wheel until my hands went numb, my vision warping between rage and heartbreak. But I didn't storm in. I didn't shout. I just sat there and watched the woman I'd built my life around walk into a hotel with someone else. When she came home that night, she kissed my cheek and said, "Sorry, meetings ran long." And I said, "It's fine." I wanted her to think she'd gotten away with it. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every laugh, every lie, every moment that had led here. When morning came, she found me in the kitchen making coffee. "Didn't sleep?" she asked. "No." She frowned. "You should try to relax more." I almost laughed at that. That's when the words slipped out, sharp and unfiltered. "I should have divorced you years ago." I didn't mean it, not really. I said it to see if she cared, if there was still a flicker of guilt in her. But her expression didn't change. "Maybe you should have," she said flatly. Then she grabbed her keys and left for work, leaving behind a house that suddenly felt foreign. Days blurred together. We became polite strangers. She'd come home, mumble something about being tired, and disappear into the bedroom. I'd stay up scrolling through old photos, her laughing on our honeymoon, dozing off on my shoulder during movies. Those eyes that once glowed with warmth now looked right through me. Then one afternoon, a white envelope arrived. Whitaker and Low Law offices. My stomach dropped. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Emily had filed for divorce. I sat at the kitchen table, reading the words over and over until they blurred. She hadn't said a word. No conversation. No warning. Just papers. When she got home that night, I held up the envelope. "You couldn't even talk to me first?" She sighed. "I didn't want to fight." "A fight?" I laughed bitterly. "You didn't want to fight, so you blindsided me instead?" She looked anywhere but at me. "It's been over for a while, James. You said it yourself." I was angry. I snapped. "I said it because I wanted to see if you still cared." Her silence was my answer. The following weeks were a blur of lawyers, signatures, sleepless nights. She moved out, taking half the furniture and most of the life we'd built together. What haunted me most wasn't the betrayal. It was how easily she seemed to move on. No tears, no hesitation, no regret. I found out later, through a mutual friend, that she and Matt had already moved in together 2 months after filing. Apparently, everyone at her office knew. Everyone except me. When the divorce finalized, I signed the last set of papers in my lawyer's office. My hand trembled slightly as I read the final line. "This marriage is hereby dissolved. 10 years, reduced to a sentence." Afterward, I drove to the coast, parked by the water, sat for hours, just watching waves break against the rocks. I didn't feel angry anymore, just empty. How do you mourn someone who's still alive? Just not yours anymore. Months passed. Therapy, the gym, new routines. I deleted her photos, but couldn't bring myself to throw away the ring. It stayed in a drawer, a quiet, cruel reminder. Then one night, as I was shutting my laptop, a message request appeared on Facebook. Emily Carter. My pulse quickened. Her message was short. "Hey, I don't expect you to reply. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. You didn't deserve how things ended." I stared at the screen for a long time. Part of me wanted to answer with something cutting, something that would make her feel the pain she'd left me with. But another part of me was just tired. So I typed back, "You made your choice. I hope he was worth it." She saw it, never replied. And maybe that was a closure I needed. 6 months later, I saw her by chance in a grocery store. She looked thinner, older somehow. Her smile was polite, brittle. "How have you been?" she asked, clutching her basket like armor. "I'm good," I said and meant it. "You?" She hesitated. "Things didn't work out." I nodded slowly. "I'm sorry to hear that." Her eyes softened, as if she wanted to say more. But I didn't let her. I smiled faintly and walked away. And as I stepped outside, I realized something. For the first time in years, I felt free, not vindicated, not triumphant, just peaceful. People think betrayal destroys you, but it doesn't. It strips you down, forces you to rebuild from nothing, to face the pieces of yourself you lost trying to love someone who'd already stopped loving you. Emily thought she was escaping a stagnant marriage, chasing happiness. But what she really did was free me from the illusion that love without respect can survive. Sometimes I think back to that morning when I said, "I should have divorced you years ago." I didn't mean it then, but now I understand something. Sometimes the words we speak in anger end up being the truest ones we'll ever say. Because if I'd left her back then, maybe I wouldn't have lost so much of myself trying to hold on to someone who'd already let go. But maybe losing her was what it took to find myself again. A few weeks ago, I stood by the ocean, the same spot I'd gone after signing those papers. Same waves, same salt air. But this time, I wasn't watching the past drift away. I was watching the future roll in. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled.